Hit Season 2.
It is going to be Frozen Temple, so another two-player map here, as mentioned.
And a free win for Classic. Will we see an Afrika win for Super? He'll need to come back in order to keep himself in and make it to the final game of the night. Classic with an interesting build in game number 1. Will he be able to have a more interesting one here as we get into game number 2?
Love that Tron remix. Down here in the bottom right, in red. He is, sure, until I see it, Super.
But
nothing was shown to me. And up here to the top left, his opponent, Classic. The SKT Protoss. Super is on his last life here in this tournament. If he messes this up, it is all over.
This is true. Actually kind of confusing for them to switch colors on us in between games. But now we get to see the opposite colors here, swapping things around. So still identical starts up until this point. It's very difficult to do different things, although, yeah, almost identical extra gate timings. Interesting proxy attempt there from Classic. You don't really expect to get that, to get a game-ending amount of worker kills off of those double oracles. But hey, when it happens, you take those.
Well, if you're used to watching the Spo TV game streams with Valdez and myself, we talk about this all the time. We see this in PvP in almost unrealistic amount of times where the player who is the more experienced player will proxy. When to me that feels like an unnecessary risk, because if you're the better player, you'll just win a straight up game, regardless of your opening. So proxying feels almost unnecessary and, like, again, risky. Zest is famous for proxying, and the same way that Maru was famous for 2-raxing Zergs when he was the better player. Like, Maru would 2-rax Departure and be like, well, it's time to go home. But when you do a build like this, if it works out, it works out. But I feel like you increase the risk in a mirror matchup when you make a move like that. Oh, accidentally got the cake. Can't deny mine anymore. Time to get out.
Yeah, you cannot have your harassment and eat the cake too. Not able to get both of those. I mean, sometimes when you think about it, it depends on how you're the better player. If you're the better, like, macro player, then that's how you want to do it. If you feel like you're the better micro player, then you go for the proxy, force the issue early on, and then force maybe less experienced players to deal with that early pressure. If they can, then maybe they're the better player. If they can't, then, well, you lose all your workers. So luckiest probe alive right there runs right by the Adepts. The Adepts will try to chase that one down.
He's actually even going to shade to deny the scout. This is that vision control I was talking about. It's harder for Stalkers to do this. Like, if he had gotten past the Stalkers just have to let it go. There's no way they can kill it. Looks like we're going to see almost identical Nexus timings here with Adepts versus Adepts and then a Stalker follow-up.
It's like the real Adepts versus the Shade Adepts. A lot of...
Who's the Shade?
Well, you can see it. It's the light one. Anyway. I just killed that joke. It was like, no.
You threw shade on my joke, okay?
Oh my god. So bad. Alright, well, the first couple of Stalkers here being made by Super. If you're the first one to go Stalkers, that means you have higher testosterone in your body.
I almost just, like, spat
I was going to say, I had that
out,
sick
like,
drink timing.
It's like a moment where everyone's like, wow, Wolf's kind of an asshole. Like, he's like not even going to, like, laugh at this guy's joke. I'm like, no.
It was vengeance for me killing the last one. But either way, the Stalker's out here for the defense. Super on top of it. He does let those shades into his base, but they will not, of course, complete. And no proxies. So we do get a longer match this time around.
Certainly so. And this is going to be an exciting match. Because, like, normally PvP right now is decided on 2 bases, but with what we have here, we might see third bases come up. Only on New Gettysburg do we see third bases as almost like a standard, but even that is, like, not what happens all the time. But in this map, with how these builds are going, this might be one of those games where it's a game of chicken, like a tech Cold War, where you're kind of trying to rush into things. Now, this is unknown to the players just yet. That's why scouts like this are really important.
The Adepts do finish their shades. Double overcharges will actually just kill them. Not all that much has been done, but the push into the natural as the probes are ferried. There is 6 probes dead so far. Not sure if that harassment was really worth it, but now he is going to have to.
You know what? I actually think it was.
Yeah, if you look at actually the unit count, it's actually just so low. There's 4 stalk. There's it's 3 stalkers. That's it. 3 sentries as well.
Look at what's happening now. Okay, so some of you guys go, "What is it worth it?" Well, is losing units worth it? You know, what's the trade-off there? Okay, the answer is you have less units to defend counter pushes. Like this one, Super's killing probes in the main. Only 3 so far, but because of how Protoss versus Protoss works.
Oh, sick force fields. All right.
Because of how Protoss versus Protoss works, you still just can't capitalize on that small unit advantage because of the force fields come down like you were just getting nerd chills from, and then the pylons are there. Like you can't attack. Oh, we have a much faster glaives here for Classic. This is the meta right now. Hero said stalkers are out; they're no good anymore. Wow, this is actually super aggressive.
He is actually going to get shades inside the base, dropping that shade all over the place.
This is shady, what we're seeing here.
God. Okay, well, dropping now more shade inside the opponent's base is Super, and he will actually go for a few probe kills himself. Nothing back at home to defend, at least not for a while. And we are actually seeing the retransfer back. Just going to go ahead and get those Adepts out of there.
Going to pick him up. The Warp Prism pilot is going to put shades on and say, "Deal with it."
Oh my god. I like don't want to see these jokes outside through my window, so I lower the shades.
I was like, that's the only other use of shade.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's actually just no more. Oh my god. Well, we are actually going to. Okay, there we go. We finally get the chance to see even more worker kills. This is actually really effective harass. 4 more going down the shade into the natural. Will not be able to pick up a whole lot. They should just wind up losing these Adepts. But good delayed mining time there, and picks up some decent. Oh wow, he's actually going to save all 3 of those. So
you know what's kind of funny? Like when I look at this, the fact that it's now a Adept-based meta. This becomes metas change all the time. So as this meta is evolving, players realize, hey, I don't make stalkers anymore, so you don't have anything to deal with my Warp Prism. You didn't go Stargates. Now Adept drops are more powerful. So both players are Adept dropping nonstop because there's no stalkers anymore. I don't even know what the best way to deal with this now is. Like, maybe people should be making cannons in their mineral lines against this if they're not going to make stalkers. He's like forcing stalker warp-ins. Well, now I have the better comp because you made stalkers. They're not good in this matchup anymore.
Very interesting. You can, of course, see both players in the background with their robo-bays pumping away. And, of course, that will be the next transition to say, okay, well, if you have all of these Adepts to try to get this worker harass off, then you will need Stalkers to try to deny the Warp Prisms, and then you have a Stalker army, which gets countered by the Immortal army that you're technically building in the background. But if you build that too slowly, you just lose all your workers. It's very, very effective harass here.
Yeah, Classic gets 5 more with this, and he's setting up for pressure at this third base. He has the larger army right now, and he's going to abuse this. This is a dead Nexus Rapid. I don't think there's any way he can hold this. Here come the units, but they're not all together. You can just back off, kill this Nexus, and then just say, I am ahead. Okay, they might get punished here. Some good force fields by Super.
Yeah, and there's no blink either, so you're actually just going to lose so many units. The bigger army to start that fight, but definitely not at the end.
Very well done. To punish that, but still the damage was done. This base isn't mining, but it's about to be, and that's going to be better saturation. This is a good counterattack timing. Again, you punish for when they trade units for economic damage with counterattacks. In PvP, pylons, photon overcharges can kind of shut that down, but in this case he doesn't have any, and he's fighting out here in the open.
Force fields actually will lock out a little bit of the army. Those Immortals for Super actually cannot get through the force fields to fight, and they're still dancing around towards the end, but the army size just might be too much. Classic here back up against the wall, trying for some fancy Warp Prism micro to keep his Immortals alive.
Even a Time Warp going down, but it's not going to be enough. That should actually just end the game here. Those force fields in the last fight allowed him to do this. There's no pylons to defend this time, and Super is bringing us to a game 3.
Yeah, we are definitely going to go there. He is actually just so dead. No, your Adept Harass is not cool enough to bring yourself back into this. Some good force fields there to push out the Immortals, but they will be in there sooner than later. Will this push be holdable? Looks like Survey says maybe. I don't know. This is taking a little bit longer. All these probes will probably be forced to die. Yeah, and another warp in coming from Super. That should seal the deal.
Yeah, just more and more Adepts coming down. Barrier users here at the last second to make sure these can basically just tank for the Immortals, or rather the Adepts to come up. 2 base versus 3. Classic is going to have to concede the point here. There's no way that he can hold this. Warp is a Micronaut used against him. And you know what? Actually, I guess that is just about it. Classic. I don't know why he wants GG. Man, versus Biana versus Super here, he is just not happy to type GG when the game is over.
Fantasy GG timing.
Yeah.
A little bit slower, but in the end, nice to see Classic showing the dominance, the good decision making that he had. He was actually maybe willing to sack his Nexus, knew he could get off those sick force fields to counterattack, just too strong.
He seems like a little bit, he just seems a little bit less solid today than normal. Like he's very...
Yeah.
He's very much like, I feel like he's losing small edges in these games, just making big movements so people are punishing for it, and then after that you can see in his game when the game is already over, he's like, I'm going to warp in units until I have no money left, I'm going to watch them die before I type out of this game. I think he really wants to get out of this group. He's frustrated that both Bjorn and Super, 2 players I think he considers himself to be better for. He has 2 titles, they have none, are beating him in these games, and he's like, I can't even believe that I'm losing to these guys right now. You could see the frustration on his face.
Yeah, he's definitely a little bit surprised, especially in the game that we had to resume from earlier. Looked a little bit questionable. Can he make it out of this group? We're taking it to our final game 3 in this matchup. Super versus Classic. New Gettysburg and newer map. We'll see if they have any strats for that. But get out there, tell your friends the SSL is on. We're going into one of our last matches of the night. Super versus Classic. Game number 3 coming up.